Welcome to Trading Lounge and the Asian Report. Well, much of a focus on the Australian market and a little bit on the Nifty Indian market, but we'll also look at some stocks as well. So just for Australia, just for a moment, we've got the Royal Commission Hayne report. I think that's coming out today for the Australian banks. So well, let's just see what comes out of the gate, but just be aware of that report. And it has been affecting the Australian market as well, because most of the markets around the world from this low here occurred, let's just say, at Christmas, and US banks have pushed up, US indices have pushed up, Australian banks have pushed up on this date as well. The Australian market's pushed up on this date. So from that Christmas run up through here, the Australian market's been doing much the same as the S&P 500, except in this little space here, where the S&P here has made a move above this wave B here, moving up here. The Australian market hasn't made a move above this particular high here, and is still lower in this instance here. So that's probably because of the bank's report coming out, the bank report coming out. So it has skewed our wave count a little bit. So we're going to need a little bit of tactics on this. With this particular market here and this trend here, there's just another little push to the upside here for the S&P on the 1 hour chart here, just looking for another high to come into play here to top that out there. So just, sort of be a little bit mindful of that, and let's just see, once we get that little 5 waves here, let's just see what we get at that point. But we are looking at wave 4 here and wave 5 here, so we can be up for wave 1 or an A wave up here for this. So we'll see a sell-off at that point. So that will come sort of midweek, I guess, or somewhere in that space. So yeah, being mindful about that. This move up for the S&P here, we have been looking at it in an impulse wave, the same as we have for the Australian market as well. But I need to point out for the banks, for the Australian banks, this particular move up through here has really been a corrective wave, not in all the banks, but yeah, let's just take a little look at that for a moment. So let's just, I'll just draw it out to, I think I'll just look at Westpac first, because it's the most obvious here. Just bear with me a second. So with Westpac here, from Christmas here, right, it's on 24th on this date here, the move up through here, we'd been counting it as well. There's a little 5 wave sequence here, and then a pullback, and then there's another 5 wave sequence here, but it only makes 3 waves. There's an A and a B and a C wave here. Okay, so for Australia, this move up through here is actually corrective. Now the problem with this is that this move up here being corrective, it could get a bit more complicated. It could get a bit more complicated as an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave up here, or even a triangle pattern, because it's in 3 waves here. We could get an A, B, C, D, and E, and then drop down through here. But the good news is that, well, good news in that we understand is that the move up here is corrective. So at some point we should be making a low below here. This particular market is moving across at the 25 here. This is Westpac at 25, so this is a medium level here. So it should this is the balance point within this space here. So that's going to be sort of helpful here. So any retest back up here, if that's going to be the case, then this is going to be the resistance sort of area here as such. This little move up through here too, and also too, you can with with Westpac, this low's been coming in from this point here. CBA had its low a long time ago, but I'll go to CBA in a moment. I'll just go to ANZ here because it's in the same sort of picture here as well. But in this case here, we've got wave 1 here and wave 2 here, or an A and a B and a C wave up here. But this hasn't pulled down and overlapped the top of this structure here. So technically we could call this wave 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 here. So we'll need to see ANZ pull down further here. So let's just see how that goes. But with Westpac, you know, setting the pace, this here is being corrective here. So I would assume that ANZ is corrective as well. So with CBA here, the low here has been in, not on this low here, which is the Christmas Day thing here. Let me just bring this up here. Sorry about that. Not on this Christmas Day area low here, but it started, well, this little low through here. So it's been in this particular pattern here for a while. And if I can just squash this up a little bit here. So this particular move down through here, we can count it, if I start from this high here, then we can count this down as wave 1 and 2 here, and 3 here, and 4 here, and 5 here. So we've actually got 5 waves from here down to here. So this would make this, if I go to a bigger degree, we can go to this one, and this would make this wave 1 here, wave 2 here, and then 5 waves all the way down to this point here, and then this would be wave 3 low, wave 4 here, and looking for another low to move on down here as well. So so in this case here, we've got the medium level 65 here. So having another move down, if we looked at a couple of things here, if we look at this top here, which would be the top of wave 2 down to wave 3 low here roughly, we can see that we've got 38, this is 38.2% here coming in here. So we've got a 3 wave structure here, which is making it corrective. So we can look at this as being wave 4, but wave 4 may even get a bit more complicated still within all of this as well. So that's what I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that this will just be clear as 1 and 2 here, and coming down as 3 and 4 and 5, and keep on building down here. If it was going to come down further, it would come down to between 64 and 61 further down through this space here. And normally what we can do is we can take the length of wave 1 here, and because this is going to govern the ASX200 as well, so that would be the length, that would be the sort of minimum requirement here for this move down through here in this case. And what that would do was give us 5 waves from that top there down to that bottom there in this instance. If we have a look at the XXJ, which is the banking sector, then if I can just squash all this up through here. This has really been the same pattern as the ASX200. The only difference is that on, put these dates in here so we can see it a bit. The ASX200 had this high in, had this low in here, and when this high here, the ASX200 had a new high above here. So I've always sort of questioned this high with the ASX200 and thinking that you know, it could still be a B wave, as this looks like an A wave and a B wave and a C wave here. Or I mean, this bigger pattern here, let's just talk about the bigger pattern here for a moment. So one of the things here is that if I take this high here, for instance, if we call this wave 1 here and wave 2 here, and all of this is wave 3, well then we're getting an A and a B and a C as wave 4 here overlapping this structure, which doesn't really happen that often in this degree of structure. And when we're looking at some of the other markets, there's only really CBA that's got a really, CBA is the only one that we can count as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So if I could just go back to CBA on this structure, you'll see that with CBA here, you'll see that if we look at this as wave 1 and 2 here, nice wave 3 here, and then an A and a B and a C for wave 4, we still need one more move down here for wave 4, and then the market can push up from there. But this is the only stock that's showing this really strong move in here, very much like a US pattern here. So the rest of the markets, if we look at WBC, for instance, we can see that with WBC here, Westpac, we have certainly overlapped the structure here. So if we call that wave 1 here, we've really overlapped it here. So yeah, most of the banks are in this situation here, so we can't call it 1 and 2 and 3 here. So this move up through here is more like, this is more like an A wave down here, and then a B wave up here. And then we'd be looking for a C wave down here. So the C wave down here would still be a long way to go down. This is what I've been trying to figure out in terms of this kind of move here. So this would be an A wave here, a B wave up here, and 5 waves down here. So this is very much on the card. So if I go back to the banking sector here, the XXJ, the finance sector is XFJ, but this one here. So this one here, it's a typical expanded flat, really. So an A wave here, an A and a B and a C here, just taking out the top here. And then we could look at 5 waves moving to the downside here. So this would be down in this case. I mean, the fundamentals for this too would also be here as well, with the property market where it is and so on, because these banks have got 80% of those loan markets on that in the property market. So looking for 5 waves down here. So in this particular case here, we would be in wave 1 and 2 here, and coming down into the 3rd wave here. We'd still have the 4th and 5th wave to go in this space. So if I look at this, if I remove this here for a moment, and we understand that we're in the 3rd wave here, then we could look at this here as, well, let's just start to label this a little bit, if that's okay. So let's just label this move here as wave 1 here and wave 2 here, and I'll just put that in space there. And then we would look at this as wave 1 here, and because there's 5 waves in this space, and then there's wave 2 here, this is one smaller degree here, and then this would be wave 3 here. Okay. So this would be wave 3 here. And this would be wave 4 here. Now this wave 4 here, this is what I've been talking about. It may get a bit more complicated here with this. And then we would have, of course, wave 5 down through here, which would make, that's fine. And then that would just make this wave 3 here at that point. So this is what we could be in for here. And then, of course, once we got wave 3 here, we'd have back for wave 4 and down for wave 5 at that point. So this is the banking sector, and this is, this is taking all the banks into consideration, and this is what the trend can look like here. So what I do know is that the little move up through here is corrective. What I don't know about this little space in here is, are we just going to get a simple correction here and then come straight down from here, or are we going to get some sort of triangle pattern in here, or or we're going to get some sort of real corrective pattern, more of a typical wave 4 corrective pattern in here before we go down. This is what I don't know in here, so it hasn't really revealed itself just yet, but anyway, that's that. And also too, if we take the flip side to all of this, so when the banking sector basically had its nice run up through here, up into this space here, it dropped quite quickly here. Well, this is when the mining sector started to push up. So when we look at the XMJ, for example, here, we can see in 2016 here, a little bit later, but 2015 and 16 is where the banks topped out. So this move here, this whole move here appears more corrective here. So from this top way back over here, this whole move down through here appears to be corrective, and this appears to be bullish here. So we're talking about BHP and Rio and so on. We'll look at those in a moment as well. So just with this particular sector here, just want to point out that this move down through here appears to be corrective, so it will be making new highs above here. So basically, banks are trending down and resources are trending up. But I know you know that. But when we look at we'll have a look at Rio, because that's moving along pretty rapidly, and it's a nice. The reason I chose Rio is because it's made a new high here. So this particular move up through here, we can look at all of this as an A and a B and a C wave here being corrective. So even in this small space here, we can look at this here being something like this here. So I can bring that back in here as wave 1 and 2. And we'll see Rio dance across 90 there, being a medium level here. There, it will do its little wave 4 across here. So while it's doing its wave 4 across here, when that might go higher here as well, and then do its wave 4 here, and then push up through here. But we've still got 5 waves. So Rio can quite easily make it to $100 in this case. And this is the same for BHP, but we've talked about this as well. So yeah, so with this is all looking quite corrective with here as well. So we need to look at this. This is probably a little bit different here, but we've got 5 waves up here from this point. So, and this is corrective, pulling back 50 or 60% from this wave 1 and wave 2. So we're in wave 3 here. So we can buy this pullback within this space here for this market to move up higher through here, but these highs should be taken out here. Yeah, so basically that's sort of it in a nutshell. Let's go back to the Australian market now. So we know that with the Australian market here, this is the US of course, but we've got one more little move up through here for this. But with the Australian market, we haven't made that new high there above that wave B green there. So this is the Australian market here. So the US market has pushed up through here. So our banks are dominated by the ASX is dominated by the banks. So it's in a rock and a hard place in this space. So I'm not quite sure about this particular pattern here, and the Hayne report coming out as well. So obviously we're in a rock and a hard place here with this. So all I can do at this point is, if I go to the hourly chart here, it hasn't really changed from last time. If this market finds support on 5.9, I've got this green line up here, but we can bring that down into this space here somewhere. If there's support on the 5.9, we can go long from that point. But otherwise, we just need to be mindful that this can drop down here further. So this is a 1 hour chart here. I'm just going to bring my tick chart across, which is normally I just show you 100 ticks, but this is on 20 ticks here, because just sort of drilling right in. So with this particular pattern here at 5.9, which is the balance line for this particular correction, we can look at this. We can look at this. This is a top here. There's a little gap here that hasn't been filled yet, so I'm mindful of that. I'm not sure if that's on the futures market, which would be more important. On the cash market, the gap doesn't matter. On the futures market, it does matter. Even if there's a 1 point gap, it will it will cover it at some point, but only in the futures market. So this can be called wave A here, and then an A and a B and a C for wave B here, and we can have wave C coming down here because we've got 5 waves in this little section here. So that can be the low here for this, and we can move up, and this has got 5 waves in it. So yeah, that can be a low there, but at the same time, this move down here can be wave 1 here, and an A wave and a B wave and a C wave for wave 2 here, and then coming down for wave 3, right? So in this case, we can short below. This is group 2 here, so we've got 65, 72, and 80. So in this case, if well, maybe it could still be an A and a B and a C, so we'll have to go down to the 65 here. If the 65 this time becomes the resistance, then you can short, and we can count this down as wave 1 and 2, and then we can bring wave 3 down further. Wave 3 here will be longer than wave 1 here, and that will bring us down into 5-8 here. So that's where we're really just going to have to leave it at this stage, because yeah, it's just a little bit tricky here. So it's really about this number here being accepted or rejected. And accepted means it needs to be support on the 5-9 for long trades, and rejection at group 2 area here needs to become the retested resistance. But because this pattern has matured here much further, then we can take the next low in here. So if we go back to the hourly chart here, we can actually take this little guy here, move that segment, and we can put him just, well, either that low there or tuck him in through there as such. So I'll just leave it at that for the time being. And let's have a look at the Nifty here. So with the Nifty here, we know that I'll just stay with this for the time being. So we were looking at this as wave 4 here and a move up through here. Now it doesn't count very nicely the way that I've counted it here in terms of wave 1 and 2 here, and 1 here, and an A and a B and a C here for wave 2, and then we were looking for wave 1 to move up through here and coming back for wave 2. This is a very unusual count, and and I wouldn't really put this as normally as an impulse wave here, but until this market fails this count, then we can keep it in here. But the 11,000, as you know, is the 50-60% retracement level here. So on the daily chart, which I have this in a negative count here, so we've got this here as wave 3 here, an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave here for wave 4. But all of this move here, it looks more like a corrective rally to the 61.8%, and can fail from here and move down. Yes, but it's still holding up there at the moment. So yeah, I mean, if I look at this here, it's more of a corrective rally than an impulse wave. But I'm just looking at both sides of it. So as an impulse, as a corrective wave, we can short. I didn't want to short this here until we were below from this move up here, or this move from here to here, at the 10.5 here. I didn't want to become short on this until this number here was breached, and I didn't particularly want to be long here either unless the 61.8% from this high to this low here became the support on 11,000 here, the closest largest number. So any work we do in between this, in this space here, is a little bit of a guessing game in here. So with that in mind, the little move up through here does appear quite nicely as a little wave 1 here. So that can go in here, and this wave 2 coming back through here, if I can just clean this up a little bit through here. There can be one more high there actually, so, but still, if we take this low here and this high here, for instance, then we can look at this 50-60% retracement level coming into this space here. So this is where we can get a move back to in here as an A and a B and a C wave in here for wave 2 to move up through here. So what this does at this point is that Well, first of all, we'd be short below this level here, and it still hasn't really changed much because we're looking at, if I can just borrow that, to be long above this little high here. But I don't want to do that just yet either because this little move up here may not be finished. So if there is another little high here, we just have to wait, really. If you're long here at the moment, that's fine. Just keep the stop, below this in this space here, and let's just see. We still need more data here to get this. But India can certainly go off and do its own thing as such from the other markets. So let's just see how we go here with all of this. So yeah, nothing really to add to this. We just need a little bit more data in here to establish the pattern. All right, sorry to waffle on so much, but thanks for tuning in. Cheers.